Greetings, my leaders, greetings, my champions. Wherever you are watching us from, we want to recommend that you continue to remember your channel by subscribing to this channel, liking and sharing. This is the platform where we speak about issues that are happening in our country and around our country. This is the gospel of the freedom of the Zimbabwean people. We are watching closely as we are getting closer and closer to the freedom of the Zimbabwean people. We are in the season of change, and change is definitely coming. We are looking today at Magayas Stadium that was commissioned by EMMERSON Mnangagwa, which has been condemned by Zifa. Very, very unfortunate. EMMERSON Mnangagwa, you remember at the time that he went there and he was the officiator of that stadium as it was officially being opened. He commissioned the opening of that stadium. And I remember very, very well Mnangagwa saying to the people that were gathered there, you call him prophet, but I call him my son. He is, to me, he is my son, something like that. That is what Mnangagwa said. And you see, so, and Magaya was there, humbling himself before his father. And Mnangagwa was calling that stadium a spectacular piece of work. He called it a classic stadium. He called it many, many names of praises. Right. But we hear that a report that we have here from the New Zimbabwe, which is saying Zifa suspends Magaya's Stadium. The lack of ablution facilities has forced Zifa's first instance board to temporarily suspend Magaya's Stadium from hosting a top-flight league games. Stadium has been without public toilets since its homologation in March. This stadium was relying on hiring mobile toilets, which were overwhelmed on match days. Hart's temporary suspension has forced the home team Yada to use Rufaro Stadium as the new home ground. So, right. You see, it is so surprising, the things that we see happening in our country, especially when it comes to these guys, these prophets that are aligned to ZANU-PF. A lot of issues that are surrounding them. So what is surprising is, how could Mnangagwa go to open a stadium that does not have public toilets? Just imagine. And how many temporary toilets can you really hire? Movable toilets can you really hire, especially on a day where there is a match? It's not possible. It's not possible. And this is something that Mnangagwa should have seen. But well, are we surprised? We are not surprised, because Magaya, like Mnangagwa said, is my son. These guys, they are in agreement. We understand that there are a lot of deals that these guys are into, especially in connection with Chinese and the like, Chinese mining and things like that. And you remember, there was also an issue that there's an issue of about 200 million that is making a lot of noise between Chinese and Magaya. And so I don't know what is happening, when it comes to these guys who are calling themselves servants of God and supporting ZANU-PF, and yet they are followed by many, many scandals attached to Mnangagwa and his family. They are also into these deals, gold mafia and things like that. And when we see these people, we continue to be worried. As a church, we are worried. As Christians, we are worried that what really is happening in our country. You remember, there was also an issue about Walter Magaya and that housing scheme of his, where he started that company of his. What was it called? Yata Connect, something like that, where people were asked to contribute monies. People paid $3,000, things like that, amounts that were quite huge. And he spoke about houses that were being built, and people would be having houses in a town of their choice, all over Zimbabwe. And people flocked to that. A lot of people, whether they were in the church and some that were not even of the church, they paid a lot of monies to Walter Magaya, and these monies did not come back. And we have had quite a lot of disturbing stories where a lot of people were coming out, complaining about their monies, demanding their monies. I still remember an issue that was happening in South Africa, or his church. Was it in Pretoria? I think it was Pretoria, where members of his church who had paid their monies, where they gathered and they forced the church not to open because they were demanding that they wanted the men of God to pay their money. And these were supposedly members of the church. So, you know what? It is very, very disturbing when we find people that are supposed to be, an example of moral compass in the nation, when they start to associate with people like Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF and all the things that ZANU-PF is doing to the Zimbabwean people, the atrocities, the murders, the rape, the incarcerations, abductions, causing poverty and stealing from Zimbabweans and stealing from Zimbabwe as a nation. So when we see these things happening, we get so worried. And our people, as always, will never learn. You still find that there are many, many people who continue to follow behind these people. We've had many, many reports that are coming of ladies that are alleging that they were molested and sexually abused, and all these things happened at the hands of some of these men that are called men of God and things like that. So it's bad news and bad news. And now that Zifa has suspended the stadium, all because there are no toilets. This is something that I think at a construction site that would accommodate quite numerous numbers of people. We expect to find toilets, obviously, being probably the very first thing that has to be constructed there. But alas, it is not happening like that. And in Mnangagwa, a whole president would come and officially open that stadium and would praise it without even realizing, or whether he knew it or he did not, or he just decided to look the other way. Because always these guys are their sons, they have a lot of other relationships and connections that are out there, so they would rather decide to look away and not talk about it. But very sad, because this is really what is causing a lot of corruption. Even in the house of God, in the church, there is corruption now, because we're very corrupt men of God who are associating with corrupt politicians, and they are bringing corruption right into the church. And many church members are disenfranchised. Many church members continue to lose their properties because of these people. And really, something needs to be done. Something really needs to happen, because what we are seeing happening is really not safe for our people. We need new leaders. We need proper leaders for our people. We need proper leaders also in the religious sector, in the Christian community. We need proper pastors, servants of God, who are genuine and who are standing for what is right. We don't want to see these characters like the Javas and all these games that they are playing in conjunction with ZANU-PF. We were speaking in the afternoon about the flop of Java's show that was also rolled up by ZANU-PF, and it ended up being a massive flop at the National Sports Stadium. This is what happens at the end of the day, especially where God is concerned, and people want to, blaspheme the name of God, putting the name of God where they know what they are doing. They are doing their dirty stuff and their dirty tricks, but it will not work at the end of the day. So we want to continue to demand for a free Zimbabwe, free religion, free Christianity, free politics, free governance, and freedom generally of the Zimbabwean people is what we need to see happening in the country. So very, very sad, very disturbing what we are seeing happening in our country. So we will have to continue looking at what is happening, and a follow-up really needs to be done, especially for people that have lost their income and their finances. These people really need to have something done for them to recover what they've lost at the hands of these guys who are not very, very straight in the way that they do things. They indicate right and they turn left. And this is very sad, a sad development for our country. Otherwise, family, this is what we were looking at. We thank you so much for joining me on the show. May we always subscribe to the channel, like and share. We are going to be meeting on Chatufa Television Production, the main channel, as we continue to touch on many other issues that are happening in our country. Otherwise, as of now, thank you so much. Shalom, shalom. Till we meet again, remain focused and remain there.